Imagine being thrown out of the only place you called home with no hope and no one to turn to. That was Chijioke's reality until one day he met a billionaire who changed everything. But this is not just a story of rescue, it's a tale of betrayal, and so much more. Hello Patties, it's your girl Naya. If you are ready like I am, let's dive into today's story. In the buzzing heart of Port Laurel, where car horns blazed and the smell of fried bean cakes filled the air, lived a boy named Chijioke. He wasn't just poor. He was invisible. Orphaned at a young age, Chijioke had grown up drifting between distant relatives until he found work and a corner to sleep in at a roadside mechanic shop owned by Mr. Taju, a greasy-handed man with a gruff voice but a soft spot for hard work. The shop sat between a pepper soup joint and a lotto kiosk. Every morning before the sun rose, Chijioke would wake up from his mat, sweep the dusty workshop floor, wipe down the oil-slick tools, and prepare for another long day of tire patching, bolt tightening, and engine fixing. He didn't complain. His life was hard, but it was his. The back room was hot, with a rusted fan that barely worked. His belongings fit in one torn travel bag, 2 faded t-shirts, a pair of jeans, a tiny Bible, and a cracked phone with no SIM card. That morning, as he sipped cold cornmeal from a reused yogurt container, Chijioke hummed to himself. It was his way of fighting the silence, of reminding himself he was still alive. Mr. Taju hadn't arrived yet, and the shop was quiet except for the occasional passing motorcycle. Then came the car. The air shifted as a sleek black Range Rover pulled up outside the shop. The car door opened slowly, and out stepped a woman like no one Chijioke had ever seen before. She was tall, fierce, and dressed in a flaming red jumpsuit. Her nails were long and sharp. Her makeup was flawless. Her eyes scanned the shop like it was beneath her. Chijioke jumped to his feet, spilling some of his cornmeal. "Good morning, Ma," he called out, rushing to help. As he stepped forward, his foot landed on an oily rag. He slipped, flailed, and the container flew from his hand and splashed directly on the woman's outfit. The world froze. The woman looked down at her clothes, then up at him. Her lips curled in disgust. "Are you stupid?" she barked. Her voice was sharp like broken glass. "Do you know how much this outfit costs?" Ma, I'm sorry. I swear I didn't mean to. Please, let me clean it." "Don't touch me," she shrieked, stepping back. "Filthy boy. Dirty thing." "I was just trying to help," Chijioke stammered. "You people have no manners. No training. No brain. Look at this place." She stormed into the office where Mr. Taju had just walked in. Chijioke stood frozen. His chest tightened. Around him, the world seemed to tilt. The other boys at the shop peeked from behind a car hood. Their eyes were wide, silent witnesses. Inside the office, voices rose. "I don't care," the woman yelled. "If this is the kind of illiterate you keep around, I'm taking all my cars elsewhere. My fiancé spends millions here, and this is what I get." "Madam, please calm down," Taju said. "The boy is young. He didn't mean to. I don't want excuses. Either he goes or I go." Moments later, Mr. Taju stepped out. His face was filled with disappointment. "Chijioke," he said quietly. Chijioke stepped forward, afraid. "I have no choice," Taju said, avoiding his eyes. "That woman brings us major contracts. If we lose her, the shop might shut down." "Sir, please," Chijioke whispered, falling to his knees. "I have nowhere to go. This place is the only home I know. I can work for free. I'll sweep the entire street. Please." "You are a good boy," Taju said. "But I can't help you. You have to go." Behind them, the woman stood in the doorway, arms folded and a smirk on her face. "That will teach you to watch where you're going," she said, flipping her hair and stepping back into her car. Chijioke didn't respond. He stood slowly, dusted his trousers and packed his bag. His fellow workers gave him water and a small packet of biscuits. "You'll be all right," one said. Chijioke nodded but said nothing. As he stepped onto the road, the sun burned above, but he felt cold. Just like that, he was homeless. That first night on the street, Chijioke learned that concrete is the cruelest kind of bed. He lay under a mango tree near an abandoned bus stop, shivering. His wrapper didn't help much. He clutched his small bag of belongings like treasure. By morning, he looked like a survivor of war. His jeans had extra tears, his shirt was stained, and his lips were cracked. Still he walked. Hours passed until he saw it. A massive unfinished building, tall and gray. It stood like an abandoned dream. There were no gates, no security, just open space and silent walls. He peeked inside. No one. He stepped in. It was dusty, quiet, and peaceful. Perfect. He found a corner, laid his mat, and whispered, "God, please, I just need one chance. I won't waste it." But sleep was a joke. Rats ran across his mat. Mosquitoes sang in his ears. Every noise sounded like trouble. Morning came too fast. A loud clang echoed. Voices. Who left the shovel in Block B? Must be Chinedu again. That guy forgets more than a fish. Chijioke sat up, startled. He grabbed his bag and tried to hide. A man turned the corner. He wore a yellow helmet and scowled. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Chijioke stood. "Please, I don't have a home. I didn't mean any harm. Let me leave." More workers appeared. One laughed. "You've been sleeping here? You're brave." "This is dangerous," another said. "The whole thing could fall." "I can work," Chijioke said. "I'm strong. I'll carry blocks, mix cement, anything. Please don't send me away." The workers looked at each other. One of them said, "Wait for the owner. She's coming soon. If she says yes, you can stay." Chijioke nodded and sat on a broken block. For 2 hours, he watched them work. They mixed cement like pros, yelled jokes, and called each other funny nicknames. Then she arrived. A silver Lexus parked outside. Out stepped the same woman. The woman in red. Today she wore navy blue, sunglasses, and carried authority like perfume. She walked into the site. "Why is work slow?" she asked sharply. "Madam, we have a situation," the foreman said. "A boy wants to work." She turned. Her eyes locked on Chijioke. "You again?" Chijioke stood shaking. "Please, ma. I can work. I won't make mistakes again." She took off her sunglasses. "Are you following me?" "No, ma. I promise. Just bad luck." She squinted. "You want to work here?" "Yes, ma. I'll do anything. This isn't a playground. If anything falls on you, I'm not responsible." "I'll be careful." She studied him. Then, almost smiling, said, "Start tomorrow. One mistake and you're out." Chijioke exhaled. "Thank you, ma. God bless you." She turned and walked off. Chijioke looked up at the sky and whispered, "God, your style is very dramatic, but I'm not complaining." He had a chance. The sun barely crept over the skyline when Chijioke arrived at the site the next morning, armed with nothing but determination and sore limbs. His new job didn't come with a uniform, so he wore his cleanest shirt, still stained with oil, and a pair of fraying jeans. He waited near the pile of gravel, his eyes scanning the compound for signs of instruction. A burly man with a beard that could hide a spoon walked over. "You the new boy?" "Yes, sir." "I'm not your sir. Call me Bala. Carry these blocks to that corner. No break till break time." "Understood." Chijioke nodded and bent to lift a heavy block. His spine nearly cracked in protest. Bala grunted, watching. "Not bad. Just don't die on your first day." Within an hour, Chijioke's body screamed in rebellion. His hands blistered. His knees wobbled. Sweat drenched him. Still he pushed on. At one point, a wheelbarrow almost tipped over, spilling sand everywhere. Bala scowled. "Chijioke, you unturned this site to desert." "Sorry, Bala," he huffed. The other workers laughed. Leave him. Not him first day. Tomorrow we go see if him still day smile. By lunchtime, Chijioke was too tired to chew properly. He ate bread and pure water under a shade, leaning against a pile of iron rods. He wasn't sure if he was proud or just completely broken. Then she arrived. The woman. Amaka. She didn't walk, she glided, like the ground feared her heels. Today she wore all white. Her sunglasses were oversized, her lips perfectly glossed. She spotted him instantly. You're still alive? She asked, eyebrows raised. Yes, ma. Chijioke replied, standing quickly. She walked up to him. What's your name again? Chijioke. I won't remember that. He blinked. Okay, ma. She turned to Bala. Is he useful? For a skeleton, yes, Bala grinned. Amaka scoffed. Just don't let him slow things down. She turned and walked away. Chijioke stared after her. She was sharp, cold, but underneath all that attitude he sensed something else, something she didn't want anyone to see. The rest of the week passed in a blur of sweat and cement. Chijioke earned nicknames like Small Machine and Mr. Quiet Strength. The workers liked him. He listened, learned quickly, and didn't whine. Then came Friday. Amaka returned to the site with a man in a tailored blue suit, and an ego that entered the room before he did. He was handsome, tall, and full of himself. Babe, you didn't tell me you hired child labor, he joked, eyeing Chijioke. That's not a child. That's our new grunt, Amaka replied without missing a beat. The man smirked. Hope he knows how to keep his eyes to himself. Chijioke looked away quickly. Amaka rolled her eyes. Grow up, Uche. But Chijioke saw it. The flicker in her expression. Annoyance. Maybe even disgust. Uche was her fiancé? He didn't act like he deserved her. Later that day, Chijioke was asked to carry some documents to the main office, a sleek glass building beside the site. It was his first time inside. He stepped into the air-conditioned room, clutching the files, when he heard voices from behind a wall. He's too poor, Amaka. What's the point of giving him a job? Because he asked. Because he works harder than most of the lazy men here. So you're a charity now? Silence. Then, mind your business, Uche. Chijioke quickly delivered the papers and left, but the conversation stuck with him. Maybe, just maybe, the Ice Queen had a little warmth buried somewhere. That night, as he lay on his mat in the corner of the unfinished building, he smiled for the first time in days. He had a job. He had a purpose. And he had just scratched the surface of something deeper with Amaka, the iron-hearted heiress. It had been 3 weeks since Chijioke started working at the site. His body no longer screamed after every shift, though his feet still cursed him in silence. He had learned how to carry blocks in just the right way to spare his back, how to mix cement without it splashing into his eyes, and how to read the moods of the supervisors to avoid random shouting matches. But Amaka? She remained a mystery. Every time she visited the site, she arrived like a storm wrapped in perfume. She'd walk in like she owned the ground, because well she did, and inspect everything from the way the blocks were stacked to how many nails were left unused. She hardly looked at Chijioke, and when she did, it was with the expression you'd reserve for a cockroach that somehow knew how to mop. Until that Thursday, Chijioke was pushing a barrow full of gravel when he heard tires screech. Amaka's Lexus swerved to a stop in the dirt just outside the compound. She stepped out, this time in a green jumpsuit, high ponytail, and heels that clearly weren't designed for construction sites. She didn't even look at the workers. She just marched toward the half-completed building. Madame de Vex, Bala muttered, as if warning the spirits. Chijioke was just about to return to his task when her voice snapped through the air like a whip. You, Chijioke. Everyone turned. Chijioke froze. Ma, he said cautiously. Follow me. Now. She didn't wait. She just turned and marched into the structure. Chijioke dropped the barrow and followed, heart thudding. Inside the building, she paced like a lioness. Her heels clacked against the concrete. Close the door, she said. There's no door yet, Ma. She rolled her eyes. Whatever. Just come in. Chijioke stepped further in, unsure of what he was walking into. Ma, did I do something wrong? She turned and faced him. For once, her tone wasn't coated in sarcasm. You've been working here for 3 weeks. Yes, Ma. And you haven't made a single mistake. I've tried my best. She stepped closer. Why? He blinked. Why what, Ma? Why try so hard? Why not just be like the others, lazy, distracted, always looking for shortcuts? Chijioke looked down then back up. Because this is the only chance I have. And I don't know if I'll ever get another one. Silence. Amaka's eyes softened for a brief second, so brief he almost missed it. Then her phone rang. She picked up. Yes. No, I said granite, not gravel. Is it that hard to follow instructions? She ended the call with a sigh. She turned back to Chijioke. Have you eaten? He was caught off guard. Ma. Food. Have you had lunch? He hesitated. Not really. She stared at him. Come with me. 5 minutes later, Chijioke found himself inside her car for the first time. He tried not to touch anything. The leather seats felt like they cost more than his life. She drove them to a quiet restaurant on the edge of Port Laurel. The kind of place that served water in wine glasses and put leaves on everything. Chijioke didn't know what to do with his hands. They sat at a small table. Amaka ordered for both of them without asking what he liked. You're the quiet type, she said, sipping her juice. I just don't want to say the wrong thing. Say the wrong thing to who? Me. He nodded. You're already on my bad side, so relax. The worst has passed. He chuckled nervously. I meant what I said earlier, she added. You work like someone who's trying to rewrite his life. He met her gaze. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. There it was again, that flash of softness, like a crack in her armor. The food came. Chijioke didn't know what most of it was, but he ate it like it was gold. Between bites, Amaka asked about his past, his family, his dreams. For the first time, she actually listened. When the meal ended, they drove back in silence. But something had changed. As they neared the site, she turned to him. I'm watching you, she said. In a good way this time. Chijioke smiled. Thank you, Ma. No, Ma. Call me Amaka. His eyebrows raised slightly, but he nodded. Okay, Amaka. She parked the car. Now get back to work before Bala thinks I adopted you. As Chijioke stepped out of the car and walked back to the site, the other workers stared, jaws dropped. What'n happen? Bala whispered. Dem say she buy you lunch? Chijioke didn't answer. He just smiled. Something was shifting. He could feel it. Amaka's heart might be iron. But even iron melts under the right fire. By the following Monday, Chijioke's life had taken a surreal turn. He wasn't just a worker anymore. He was the boy Amaka had taken an interest in. The whispers at the site were no longer about block prices or cement grades. They were about him. Guy, how you take enter madam car? Bala asked him during lunch. Chijioke tried to laugh it off. It was just food. Just food? Na so dem day enter mansion. He waved the comment away, but his mind was elsewhere. Because Amaka had offered him something even crazier than lunch. A job. You'll work for me directly, she said the next day. At the house. My driver will pick you up in the morning. You'll handle odd jobs. Garden work. Gate. Errands. Me. Yes, you. Do you want it or not? Of course, Ma. Amaka, I mean yes. Good. Be ready by 6 a.m. And just like that, Chijioke moved from the chaos of a construction site to the polished silence of Amaka's estate. Her house looked like a castle had swallowed a magazine cover. It was all marble floors, gold-painted trim, chandeliers, and glass so clean you were afraid to breathe near it. Her staff, 3 maids, 1 chef, and a gatekeeper named Ikena, looked at Chijioke like he was a stray dog Amaka had brought in for fun. Is this the new assistant? The chef asked loudly. He looks confused, one of the maids whispered. Chijioke kept his head down. He wasn't here to impress anyone. The only person who seemed genuinely happy to see him was Lady, Amaka's German shepherd. The massive dog ran to him the moment he stepped into the compound and licked his hand like they were childhood friends. Even the dog likes you, Amaka had said with a small laugh. For the first few days, things were fine. Chijioke trimmed the hedges, swept the compound, ran errands. He tried to stay out of Amaka's way. But staying out of her way became impossible when she kept dragging him into it. Chijioke, Carry these boxes upstairs. Come and help me pick a paint color for the guest room. Do you know how to steam suits? Each task pulled him deeper into her daily life, and with each passing moment, Chijioke saw a new side to Amaka. She was fierce in public, but at home, she hummed old-school R&B when no one was looking. She hated cucumbers. She had a phobia of frogs. Her laugh, when she actually let it out, sounded like a warm secret. But just as the air began to soften between them, the storm arrived. Her name was Chidera, and she made her entrance like a firework with a grudge. Amaka had just returned from a meeting when a sleek red Benz parked beside her Lexus. A woman stepped out in sunglasses big enough to be called furniture. Her lips were red. Her attitude was louder than her heels. "Amakawea," she called out, arms open. Amaka smiled tightly. "Chidera. I thought you said your houseboy was cute. Girl, you didn't say he was edible." Chijioke, holding a mop, nearly dropped it. "He's not a houseboy," Amaka said flatly. "He works here." "Well, so do chefs. Doesn't mean they can't be dessert." Chijioke disappeared before he could blush himself into a coma. From that day, Chidera became a frequent guest. Too frequent. And every time she visited, she had a new comment about Chijioke. "Why's your garden boy walking like he models for cologne ads?" "Chijioke, you single? Asking for a friend." "That friend is me." At first, Amaka laughed it off. Then she stopped laughing. Then came the day Chidera crossed the line. It was a Sunday. The house was quiet. Amaka was working on her laptop in the living room. Chijioke was in the kitchen washing plates when Chidera walked in and leaned against the fridge. "So, what does a hardworking boy like you do for fun?" she asked. "I mostly work," Chijioke replied. "No girlfriend?" He shook his head. "Good." She stepped closer. Too close. "I like focused men." Before Chijioke could move, she touched his arm. "Chidera." They both turned. Amaka stood in the doorway. Her eyes were cold. Her voice was colder. "I think it's time you left." Chidera blinked. I know exactly what you were doing." "Goodbye, Chidera." Chidera didn't argue. She left, heels echoing down the hallway like gunshots. Chijioke turned to Amaka. "I swear I didn't." She raised a hand. "You don't have to explain." Silence. Then, softly, "But if you ever let her touch you again, you'll be scrubbing toilets in the guest house for a month." Chijioke smiled. "Understood." Amaka walked away. And Chijioke finally admitted to himself, he liked her. Not just as his boss, but as something more. And judging by her reaction to Chidera, she might just feel the same. Rain poured like the sky was angry. It slapped against the glass windows of Amaka's mansion and turned the paved compound into a river. The power blinked twice before the generator kicked in, humming like a restless lion. Inside the mansion, Chijioke stood at the back door, soaked from head to toe. He had run across the street to get Amaka's dry cleaning from the service shop before the clouds broke. He now held the hangers in one hand and a shivering towel around his shoulders in the other. Amaka came downstairs in a silk robe and fluffy slippers, holding a mug of tea. She raised an eyebrow. "You're drenched." "You said you needed your clothes today," Chijioke said, teeth chattering. She stared at him for a long second. Then, without a word, she turned around. Chijioke assumed she'd gone to her room, but a few moments later she returned, with a towel and one of her expensive hoodies. "Go and change," she said, handing them over. "You'll catch pneumonia like this." Chijioke hesitated. "This is yours. And right now it's yours. I'll survive." He disappeared into the guest bathroom and returned a few minutes later in the hoodie. It was soft, warm, and smelled faintly of her perfume, like honey and defiance. She looked at him, and for the first time, she smiled without armor. "You clean up well," she said. He chuckled. "Only when I'm wearing your clothes." They sat in the living room, the rain outside providing the soundtrack. She gave him tea. He held the mug like it was gold. "I don't remember the last time I drank anything hot," he said. "Seriously? Water. That's my usual drink. Hot things are a luxury." She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You know, Chijioke, I've had everything most people dream of. Money, a big house, power, But sometimes I look around and feel like I'm the one missing out. He tilted his head. On what? She hesitated. On realness. People who tell me the truth without pretending. You do that. You're not trying to impress me. You're just you. He sipped the tea and smiled. You don't scare me anymore. That helps. Oh, she said, laughing. So I was scary before? Terrifying. Like a dragon with high heels. She threw a cushion at him. They laughed. But beneath the laughter, something simmered. Something unspoken. That night, as they said goodnight and walked in opposite directions down the hallway, they both turned back at the same time. Their eyes met. Good night, she said. Good night, Amaka. She lingered for a moment, then went into her room and shut the door. The next morning, everything changed. The knock came at 9:15 a.m. A hard, impatient knock. Amaka was still upstairs. Chijioke answered. Standing at the door was a man in a black suit with a stern face and a briefcase. Good morning. I'm here to see Miss Amaka Okonkwo. Urgently. Chijioke nodded and let him in. Who is it? Amaka asked, coming down the stairs in a business dress. The man bowed slightly. Legal affairs. I'm here about the Summit Towers deal. There's been a complication. Amaka's jaw clenched. What kind of complication? A partner has pulled out. The contract needs to be renegotiated. And there's talk of lawsuits. Of course there is, she muttered, grabbing her laptop from the console. Chijioke moved closer. Can I help? She looked at him. You already are. Just keep the house calm. I might be gone all day. He watched her leave with the lawyer, her back straight, her expression steel. But that wasn't the storm. The storm came at noon. Her name was Ngozi, Amaka's aunt, and she entered like thunder. Chijioke had just finished sweeping the front porch when a black SUV screeched to a halt, and a woman in heavy gold jewelry stepped out. You there? You're the houseboy, ABI? He blinked. I work here, yes ma. She scoffed. So Amaka has started housing strangers? Bring my bags in. She pushed past him and entered the house like she owned it. Within 15 minutes, she had taken over the living room, the kitchen, and insulted every photograph on the wall. This girl thinks she's a queen. Look at all this nonsense decor. No husband, but chandelier is hanging like wedding cake. Chijioke kept a straight face. Ngozi turned to him. So where are you from? Enugu. Ah, you people and your stubborn heads. No wonder she brought you. 2 goats in one mansion. He said nothing. When Amaka returned hours later, rain still pouring, she found Ngozi sipping tea from a mug labeled Boss Lady. Amaka stared. What are you doing here? Ngozi smiled like a villain in a soap opera. Family visit. Your mother said I should check on you. And this your houseboy is very obedient. I like him. Amaka's eyes flicked to Chijioke. He looked tired. She turned back to her aunt. Don't get comfortable. Oh, I won't. Just here for a few days. Unless the rain decides to drown the world. That night, as the rain continued to pour and Amaka sat in her room staring at her laptop, Chijioke knocked softly. Yes. He entered, holding a bowl. I made you something. Just a small jollof rice. You didn't eat all day. She looked up, surprised. You cooked? I watched the chef before he left. Figured I'd try. She took the bowl. It was steaming. Smelled good too. You didn't have to. I know. But I wanted to. She smiled. Thank you, Chijioke. He nodded and turned to leave. Wait, she called out. He turned. Close the door. Stay a while. And in the silence of the storm, something new began to stir. Not just attraction. Not just kindness. But something deeper. A connection. The kind that changes everything. The morning after the storm brought a strange stillness to the house. The clouds had cleared, but the atmosphere remained thick. Not with rain, but with unspoken emotions. Amaka avoided the living room. She stayed upstairs, pacing her room, her head full of thoughts. Chijioke had been kind. Too kind. The jollof rice, the soft knock, the way he looked at her like she was more than just her last name. Downstairs, Chijioke swept the hallway, but his mind wasn't on the broom. He replayed her voice over and over. Stay a while. Ngozi noticed. She leaned against the kitchen doorway with a smirk. So, you and Madam had a long conversation last night, eh? Chijioke paused. She wasn't feeling well. I just brought her food. She chuckled. If food is the new way to win a woman, I should open a restaurant. Ma, nothing like that is happening. That's what you think. She turned, her tone playful but sharp. But careful, boy. This house has long memory and short patience. He nodded, returning to his broom, heart pounding. That afternoon, Amaka came downstairs wearing sunglasses even though the house was dim. She barely looked in his direction. Please bring the car around, she said curtly. Yes, Ma. When he returned with the keys, she paused. And wear something decent. You're coming with me. He blinked. Me. Yes. We're attending a board lunch. I need someone to drive and pretend to be my assistant. Don't talk. Don't smile too much. Just look alert. He nodded quickly. Yes, Ma. I'll change now. In 30 minutes, he was dressed in a button-down shirt she had bought weeks ago, still in its packaging. As they drove into the city, the tension between them felt like an overinflated tire, ready to burst. At the lunch, the board members were mostly men in suits and women with icy laughter. They eyed Chijioke with confusion. New hire? One asked, raising a brow. Amaka smiled coolly. Personal assistant. Quiet. Efficient. Unlike most of the people I pay. The man chuckled. Well, he does look alert. Chijioke remained silent, hands behind his back. Halfway through the meeting, Amaka leaned toward him. Take notes, she whispered. I don't have a notepad, he whispered back. Use your memory. He did. After the lunch, in the car, she turned to him. That was decent. Thank you, Ma. She rolled her eyes. Stop with the ma. You've seen me in pajamas. The least you can do is call me by name. Yes, Amaka. They drove in silence for a while. Then she said, what did Mr. IB say about the budget increase? 20% hike. But he suspects the leak is from procurement, not HR. She raised an eyebrow. Impressive. I have good ears. And apparently a sharp brain. That night after dinner, Amaka didn't retreat to her room. She sat in the lounge with a glass of juice. Chijioke joined her, sitting at the far end. Tell me, she said, what would you do if you had my kind of money? He chuckled. Buy you a new wardrobe. All your clothes are too intimidating. She laughed. Seriously. He thought. I'd start a training center. For boys like me. Mechanics. Construction. Real skills. Too many of us are on the streets just because we had no one to teach us anything useful. Her smile faded into something softer. That's a good idea. Maybe someday, he said. She looked at him closely. You're not like anyone I've ever met. Neither are you. A silence settled. Then unexpectedly she asked, would you ever date someone like me? He blinked. You mean rich, powerful, terrifying? She rolled her eyes. You forgot beautiful. That's the scariest part. She smirked. So that's a no? I didn't say that. Their eyes locked. For a second, the air between them crackled. Then Ngozi's voice boomed from the hallway. Chijioke. The tap is leaking like it's in labor. The moment shattered. He stood, bowed slightly. I'll check it, Amaka. She nodded, hiding her disappointment behind a sip of juice. And as he walked away, both of them knew. Things had changed again. And the next change would be irreversible. It was a quiet Friday morning. The kind that feels like it's waiting for something to go wrong. Amaka sat at the breakfast table, dressed in a soft peach robe. Her laptop was open, but her eyes were elsewhere. The events of the past few weeks spun in her mind like laundry on high speed. Chijioke's loyalty, the board meeting, the unspoken moment in the lounge. She sipped her tea and glanced at her phone. 11 missed calls from her aunt. Persistent old bat, she muttered. Meanwhile, in the garden, Chijioke was fixing the outdoor tap that Ngozi had reported leaking 2 days ago. But his mind wasn't on the plumbing. He kept thinking of Amaka's question. Would you ever date someone like me? He had never met a woman like her. Sharp as a razor, moody as Lagos rain, yet with a strange softness she hid like it was illegal. As he tightened the tap, a voice interrupted. So, the handyman has become the house favorite. He turned. It was Kola. Chijioke didn't know him well. He was a family friend of Amakas, known for his flashy cars and fake laughs. Today he wore a designer shirt that screamed money and disrespect. "Good morning," Chijioke said politely. Kola smirked. "Still calling me sir? Charming. I heard you were at the board lunch. Must be nice, eating food meant for people who don't fix taps." Chijioke forced a smile. "Just doing my job." Kola stepped closer. "Let me give you advice. Don't get too comfortable. You think she's interested in you? Please. She likes her toys expensive and disposable." Chijioke didn't reply. "I've known Amaka since she was 12. She doesn't do charity. If she's being nice to you, it's because she's bored. When she's done, you'll be back on the street." Chijioke straightened. "Then I hope she stays bored for a long time." Kola's smile dropped. "Watch yourself." Amaka's voice cut through the air. "Kola." They both turned. She stood by the doorway, arms folded, expression unreadable. "I didn't know you were here," she said. "Surprise visit," Kola replied smoothly. "You're always so busy these days. Thought I'd come see how you're doing. And your new assistant." Amaka walked forward slowly. "He's not your business." "Oh, I know. But you know people talk. Especially when the boss lady is seen giggling with the houseboy." Chijioke stepped back. "I'll go finish outside." "No," Amaka said firmly. "Stay." She turned to Kola. "Is this why you came? To insult me in my own home?" Kola scoffed. "I came because I care. Unlike him." "You don't care," she snapped. "You just hate seeing me happy. Because you've never had control over me." Kola's face twisted. "Is this what you're calling happiness now?" He nodded at Chijioke. "A boy with grease under his nails?" Amaka's voice dropped an octave. "Leave." Kola looked from her to Chijioke. "This won't last." "Neither will your welcome," she said flatly. Kola left, slamming the gate, so hard a lizard fell off the wall. Amaka turned to Chijioke. "Sorry about that," she muttered. "I've heard worse." She nodded. "Still, I should have warned you. Kola's the type who mistakes arrogance for charm." "I got that in the first 10 seconds. She gave a small laugh. "You're brave." "I'm just tired of being pushed around." That evening, Chijioke was in the kitchen when Amaka walked in with 2 glasses of wine. "No lectures," she said. "Just drink." They clinked glasses and sat by the kitchen counter. "You've changed," she said after a sip. "So have you. Do you regret coming here?" "No," he said quickly. "This house may be confusing, but it's the first place I've ever felt seen." Her eyes shimmered, just for a second. Then she leaned closer. "There's something you should know." He looked up. "My father didn't build this company. I did. He left us when I was 12. People think I inherited all this, but I earned it. Every boardroom battle, every late-night plan, it was me." Chijioke listened silently. "I've had to be hard," she continued. "People like Kola think I'm too cold. Maybe they're right. But cold kept me safe." "You're not cold," he said softly. "You're fire pretending to be ice." She looked at him. For a moment, neither moved. The room felt smaller. The space between them charged. "I should go," Chijioke said, standing. She stood too. "Wait." He turned. She stepped forward. Closer. Then her phone rang. She blinked. Saved by the bell. He smiled. "Next time I won't move." And he left, heart thumping, knowing the storm wasn't over. It had just found a new rhythm. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. The kind of calm that warned of a storm brewing just out of sight. Chijioke kept busy around the house, fixing leaky taps, arranging the storeroom, wiping down railings Amaka never even looked at. But his mind wasn't in the chores. It lingered on that almost moment in the kitchen. The closeness. The look. The way she didn't pull away. Amaka, on the other hand, buried herself in work. Board meetings, investor calls, staff memos. Anything to distract herself from the fact that her walls were beginning to crack. Worse, she didn't want to rebuild them. Then came the news. Ngozi, the housekeeper, burst into the kitchen one morning, holding a phone. Madam, I think you need to see this. Amaka frowned and took the phone. On screen was a social media post. A grainy picture of her and Chijioke walking side by side in the garden. The caption read, "Heiress falls for houseboy? Insiders say yes." Her face drained of color. "Where did this come from?" she asked. Ngozi shrugged. "Some gossip page. But people are sharing it like wildfire." Amaka turned on her heel and stormed out to find Chijioke. He was in the garage, wiping the bonnet of her car. "You," she barked. He looked up, startled. "Ma, did you tell anyone anything? Did you post anything?" "No, Ma, I swear. I haven't even touched my phone today." She stared at him, trying to read his face. But he looked confused, not guilty. "I need you to disappear for a few days." Chijioke blinked. "What? Not permanently. Just go to the guest house in Enugu. I need time to handle this. The press. The board. Everyone." He nodded slowly. "Okay, if that's what you want." She turned away, already halfway to the house. "A driver will take you. Be packed in an hour." He stood there, stunned. Not by the order, but by how cold her voice had become. "So, Patties, what do you think happened next between Chijioke and Amaka? Do you think they later made up? What could their relationship possibly result to? Drop your thoughts below. I would love to read them. I promise to drop the part 2 as soon as possible. Until then, bye.